Hey, welcome back to my Candyman project. This is video 2. So I kind of left off with I just got the bike running, and the last time I ran it, it sounded like it was kind of popping every time, like it was lean. So I'm going to inspect that. But right now, I'm trying to figure out why it's not running very good. I mean, it moves, but it feels very low powered. So that kind of puts me towards either timing, or maybe the clutch, or both. So this video, I'm going to kind of take a look at all these different systems here and figure out what's going on. All right, I have a few tasks here that I'm going to look at. First, we're going to check out the spark plug, see how it looks and see what it's gapped at. Also going to take a look at the points on the magneto, see how we're looking there. Then I'm going to pull the primary cover off and try to check the timing and see what the condition of the clutch is, because I think both of those might be related to the kind of sluggish takeoff. And of course, we're going to check the valve clearances. And also, there might be a small leak in my manifold letting in air, so it might be giving me a lean popping condition, but I don't think that is affecting the low power problem. First thing I'm going to check out is the spark plug, and right off the bat, I can tell that the spark plug wire has seen better days. But it's still firing really good, but I will have to replace that. So these are supposed to run on basically the same as the cast iron Triumphs. You can run a Champion L82C or an NGK B6HS, and I can tell it's running a B7H. I don't know if that's okay or not, but I do have plenty of Champions that I can try out. But these are also supposed to be set at a 20 thou gap. And yes, it is a 20 thou gap. Right on the money. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is pull off this primary cover so we can check timing and the clutch. So it took a little bit of work, but she's off. There were a number of homemade shims right here. I guess that's how push it out towards the cover, but I can tell it's bent and everything, so I'm gonna have to go through here and straighten all this out. But here's the cush drive. So on the earlier bikes you had a spring cush drive. What this basically is a shock absorber. Later on the cush moved inside the clutch, so this became an area for the alternator, so it doesn't matter. So other than a bunch of gunk in here and wasted cork gasket, I don't really see anything alarming. When I look at the clutch here, it seems to me like it may be missing a couple discs. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not super familiar with BSA clutches, but that seems low. Comes in and out. It seems like there's a lot of room for it to come out. I swear it looks like it's missing a couple plates, so I'll have to pull this off and see what's going on back there. Maybe that's also the reason why it's so low powered. My current hunch is that the timing is out just a little bit. I read that a couple of really good kickbacks can set the timing out of whack, can actually move the mag gear on the other side of the magneto and get it out of your time. Okay, I'm going to pull the points cover off the magneto here. And, I mean, it doesn't look horrible. Looks pretty clean in there. Some debris. But I know it works. It was running this bike. Nice big blue spark, which is great. Alright, I checked the points gap here, and it's somewhere around 0.008. Maybe even smaller, because when I put that in, I swear I can feel the arm moving just a little bit. And it's supposed to be at 12 thousandths. So I need to open that up. Before I do that, I'm going to clean up the points a little bit with some light grit sandpaper, just to kind of get them, all the high spots off. You can actually see a gap now. You gotta love absolutely tiny magneto hardware. I don't, of course, have the right wrenches for it, so I found the closest things I have. So first I'm going to kind of loosen this up. Oh boy. It is extremely challenging for my sausage fingers to get in here and work. Okay, I got the timing points gap to about 0.013. I was aiming for 0.015, but I got tired of fussing with it. I think the post that the nuts are on might be a little bit rusty, and it's just a pain in the butt. I'm within spec, so I'm not worried. When I take all this apart, it'll be a lot easier to take a look at that stuff. Anyway, I got a nice big fat blue spark. So now on to the timing. I'm going to try to figure out how to get a degree wheel on here. I used to have an adapter that I used for a pre-unit, but I lost it, so I need to get another one. I think it might actually fit. It looks like the crankshaft might be about the right size. Anyway, I need to get this nut off. You can tell it's been chiseled off and not used the right tool ever. I also don't have any spare clutch plates to hold the clutch basket, so I'll just stick a screwdriver in here and try to get this off. Stick this in here. I was originally looking if maybe I should upgrade this clutch and just kind of ditch the whole cush drive back here, because I've seen a lot of BSA, like the swing arm Beezers, have a Triumph 4-spring clutch upgrade. So I read a little bit more, and it sounds like all the swing arm B33s, B31s and all that, their 6-spring clutch is not as good as the earlier plunger and rigid frame. So this is supposedly a pretty good clutch. I don't need to worry about upgrading it. The cush gear, whatever you want to call this thing, looks like it's actually in really good shape. Alright, I was curious if the Triumph crank was the same size as a BSA crank, and I can tell it's not. We got about 0.62 on the Triumph, and the Beezer is a 0.75, so 3/4. So I'm going to have to come up with my own way to mount the degree wheel here so we can check our timing. So now the question is, do I want to modify this or another degree wheel to have a bigger opening? I could just slide it right over that against the inner cush drive and then just tighten it with the cush nut here. I mean, that would be easy. Alright, I need a degree wheel, so I'm just going to make one myself.
Is approaching to give it your best, and you've got to reach your prime. That's when you need to put yourself to the test and show us a passage of time. We're gonna need a montage. A sports training montage. Show a lot of things happening at once, remind everyone of what's going on. And with every shot, show a little improvement. To show it raw would take too long. That's called a montage. Even Rocky had a montage. In any sport, if you want to go from just a beginner to a pro, you need a montage. A simple little montage. Always fade out in a montage. If you fade out, it seems like more.
Okay, I discovered that on this magneto, it's actually full advance when the cable is tight, which is kind of ridiculous, which means you always have to have tension on this thing to be running. And if this cable ever broke, getting home will probably be kind of a pain in the butt. But anyway, I didn't record it. I found top dead center using a piston stop and using my new degree wheel. I discovered that it was actually firing at 20 degrees before top dead center. So almost 20 degrees off. So that could definitely explain some low power. So I'm going to go ahead and retime this thing. Well, it's obvious that I need to adjust the magnetopinion gear in here. And so to remove that, you have to buy a pooler. So I just bought, so that'll be here in a few days. But I thought I'd take a look at the inside of this. I have never had this timing cover off before. So I'm just I know what it kind of looks like from pictures, but you know, a little different than a Triumph. Just remove as much gunk as I can. It's this kind of stuff where I'm just like sitting at nighttime and I don't have to make a lot of noise. You just kind of chill out, inhale some brake cleaner in a closed garage. It's moments like this make life worth living. All right, let's see if I need to use a impact. And it's, oh, there it goes. Yeah. Yipper. Yes, sir. You got it. You got a winner. We're all winners. Did I get you yet? I can't remember. Ugh, that one's pretty full of gunk. Did I get them all loose? Oh, that one's going to be a problem child. Yeah, there we go. All right, I got my drill. I opened up the garage because I was starting to get a little high, and not in a good way. Is this like ASMR? Could you just watch an hour of people taking out screws? I have to wash all these. Come on. Come on. Does that screw need to come off maybe? It's possible. Or that bolt right there. Or is that just a drain? That's a drain. Okay, well, let me get something. That's some gross oil. There we go. Maybe I should do an oil change soon. Oh look, there is a color of metal behind the black. That's fascinating. Pretty nasty. Now I feel guilty about running it for a little bit. Okay, so we have this little kind of protector plate over the timing gears. And this is the thing I need to get out. Alright, let's see how tight that sucker is. It is really badly messed up. I'm not sure I can get the socket over it. There we go. That weren't nothing. That was easy. Okay. Now getting it back out of the socket. Let's see if I can do that. Alright, what's going on with you, Mr. Magneto Gear? Why aren't you in the right spot? Did you have a really bad kickback and it set you out of timing? That's possible. So this is where the oil squirts out, and it goes into this tube that feeds these two lines, which are these two cams, I believe. And I'm going to guess that these are supposed to be soft and pliable and seal. They are hard as a rock, these little plastic inserts. Well, they probably used to be rubber, but they don't look like rubber anymore. And that paper gasket, I don't know, turned into a really crispy critter. See if I can get one of these out. It seems like I should not be doing this, but now I've gone this far, I better order, yeah, better order a gasket kit now. Wow, that is horrifying. Alright, this will not be going back on this bike until I have a new gasket and some new seals. Yikes. I'm feeling kind of guilty about running this thing after seeing the condition of the oil and the seals. So I have a gasket set coming. I'm going to go ahead and pull the sump and let that drain. And I think I'm also going to pull the oil tank. Pretty loose. Pretty loose. I can see some sealant around it, which is a sign of it leaking. Maybe if they actually knew how to put these things together right. Same thing as on a Triumph. Little plate. I'm sure there's a little screen inside. And this is where the pickup tube is for the oil. So that nut came off, so that's good. No studs yet. How tight are you? Not tight. Oh, loop. Ah. The screen is not what I expected. Or is that just a gasket? That is just a gasket. The screen's still up there. There it is. Coming apart pretty well though. This thing probably hasn't been removed, I'm gonna guess, since the 60s. That's my guess. These things fell out of fashion, which is kind of weird. This isn't a very common motorcycle for the States. So I really wish I knew the backstory of this thing. That'd be awesome. Alright, here's the sump screen. going by from what I can tell, this side looks a little better. Looks like it should be okay. Clean that up. Let's see here. Oh, is that another gasket? Or what's remaining of a gasket of some sort? Little chunks of stuff. Otherwise, pretty clean. It's really not that bad. Okay, the next step is I'm going to drop this oil tank, so I need to remove the old lines, and then I think the oil tank is attached on the other side, kind of by the battery bracket. I really don't want this thing to run again with bad, gross oil in it, so I'm just going to flush it out. Alright, first up, let's see if I can't remove these oil lines. It's very much like a Triumph. Feed and return. It's got these old clamps on it, which is pretty cool. I'll definitely be reusing these anytime I can get a hold of these things. I prefer to use them. They just look so much better than today's hose clamps. I know you can probably pick these up aftermarket, but why pay for something you already got? See if I can get it off there. A little snippy dippy, maybe? The battery tray. Is there secret access to the oil tank here somewhere? Or is it just stuck? Oh, maybe it is loose. They wouldn't make this that complicated, would they? Got the drain here. Maybe that's what's holding it in, actually. Oh, yeah. There's a little drain that comes down here. Okay. There we go. Oh, there we go. 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 Oh, there's another screen in there. Okay. Oh, there's a freaking the junction for the rocker feed is right there. I should undo that too. Let me guess, different wrench. No, same one. Everything's just a little different on this thing. Oh, okay. Good times. Little copper insert. That might be a solder repair right there. Okay. There we go, there we go, there we go. All right. That was a little bit of a challenge. This thing makes me really nervous. Why would they put such a fragile piece on here? Let's see if I can't get that out. I'm tired of the toolbox being here, so I'm going to get it out of my way. It's just making things more complicated. Probably should have done this first, of course. One, two, three. Okay. Look at all those holes in that fender. All right, while I'm here, I'm just gonna get rid of these foot pegs. Don't need them. Well, I think this is another fine thread, American thread. All right, I'm here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this pinion gear off. Okay. Yep, American 3/4. Yeah, that was easy. Doopy 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 doop. Oh my. Oh my. What do we got here? We got a little clip. Is this potentially, well, this is the seal for the magneto, but I'm trying to see if this is actually how it's supposed to look. That looks homemade to me. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look this up, because something just doesn't seem right here. Seems like it's all chewed up. This definitely looks homemade. So now I guess I need to order one of those. I got in some new parts, and here's the homemade oil seal for the magneto that I pulled out. And this is the correct one. So maybe this will actually stop the oil from going through. Here are the replacement rubbers for the timing cover. These are what seal up those little nipples and send oil to the cams. I also got myself some new sump gaskets and a new primary cover gasket. Still waiting on my magneto cable. Right now all the greasy parts are kind of cooking in this diesel bath. It was really grimy, so I've just been having them soak in here for a while until I get to it. Oh my goodness, it's been about 2 weeks since I've worked on this thing. Got the old COVID. Not a very fun time, but I'm starting to feel better. I still have a cough, but I don't feel like I'm gonna die anymore. So back to work. A bit of time with the old scraper and cleaner and air blower and everything else, and everything's pretty clean. While I've got the timing cover disassembled, I'm gonna give it just a little bit of a mill job here. I can feel a few little high spots and stuff. Might as well get rid of them now. I have this emery cloth left over from doing a head a few years ago on this piece of granite. So I'm just gonna do this real quick. I'm not going to be very serious about this. A little bit of oil. Try to get a little figure 8 action here. It's not the best way to do it, but it's what I got. You can tell it's better already. I don't feel those high spots like I did. Alright, it's time to get the timing cover back together. We're going to start by putting this little feeder pin in, and there is a little hole in there, so it needs to line up with that bigger hole. And then there's 2 small feeds. These go to the cams. So we're going to start by heating up the cases. And it should just drop right in. There we go. We'll let that cool for a bit. Next up is all the air release stuff. Inside here there's a little phenolic block type material breather disc of some sort. I didn't take this apart. I've read there's all sorts of leaking issues with this, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I didn't have the correct fiber washer, but I found one that fits pretty good. So I'm going to get this back together now. Cover's a little warm. This doesn't seem to fit any of my wrenches. I'll fully tighten this in a moment. Okay, finally we'll put in these little sealing rubbers. I noticed that there's a lot of mold line in some of the there's a little bit of flakiness coming off, so I'm rubbing as much of this off as I can because I don't want that going through the oil. I should just plop right in. I'm going to blow some more air through there just to make sure I don't have any sort of contaminant in there, at least any more than I need to. Well, that should be about it. Okay, the last thing I need to do before I set the timing is kind of clean this timing section up, clean out the area for the oil seal real good, and then get that new oil seal back in there. But I just came upon a pretty major discovery. I just happened to be spinning the crank here and looked at the cam, and I noticed that is not the stock B33 cam. The exhaust is a 65-2436, and I can just barely tell that the intake is a 65-2438. Those are Gold Star cams. So this bike already has upgraded cams, and this must have been done before it was parked in '68 or so. So if the cams are upgraded, I wonder if the valve springs are upgraded too, and maybe, heck, maybe even the piston has been upgraded to a high compression. I have no idea, but I'm just going to set this like normal. So let me clean this up and get that new seal in. Okay, it's time to get the oil seal in. Before I do that, I wanted to show that I actually had to grind this magneto nut down quite a bit because it was just so stripped out. I probably need a new one, but I think it'll work just fine. So if you look in there, the magneto is actually not centered in that hole, and that is all done with shims to get the proper lash with the gear. So even though it's correct for the gear, I'm not really sure how the oil seal works here because it's not exactly centered, but I guess it kind of Maybe it massages itself over. But anyway, the open side of the seal always goes towards pressure. And since there's no pressure on the magneto side, we know it's this side. So we'll just plop that thing in there pretty easy like this. All right, so when I put in the gear, it's gonna ride inside that seal. Just a little bit off center. I guess that's all right. I don't see how any other way is possible. Well, I cannot seem to get this thing to time right. Every time I set it, it seems to be off by like 5 degrees by the time I tighten it. So I think that's telling me that the mag gear is actually spinning on the taper. I was originally going to do this. I was going to lap the gear to the taper, but that requires removing the mag dyno. So I'm going to do something I really wasn't planning on doing and basically remove the mag dyno. It shouldn't be that hard. All that's held in is by a strap up here. But I think this gives me the opportunity to do a couple things. It's going to let me set the points at 0.015 a lot easier, clean up the points area a little bit, and also I can set the backlash on the gear a little bit better by adding shims underneath the mag dyno. So the BSA guide says if it's too close, if the gears are too close, it's noisy. If it's too far apart, it's whiny or something like that. But it really doesn't tell you where to set it. I've been told you can use a piece of paper, and a piece of paper measures 0.004. And if you run it through the gears here, and it doesn't come out being too chewed up, your backlash is set correctly. So let's try that real quick. You can also see how the shaft here doesn't ride directly in the center of this hole. If you add shims, it could potentially change that. But let's check the backlash first. Okay, I've got a little piece of paper and we're going to run it through the gears here. See how it looks. That actually looks pretty good to me. We don't want the paper to be chewed up. So I think the backlash is actually pretty good. So we probably don't need to add any shims. So all I'm going to do is remove this strap at the top, and this whole mag dyno system will just pop off after I remove the gear, of course. I think unfortunately I'm just going to need to remove this carburetor again. It's just too much in the way. I'm also going to go ahead and remove this oil line. I need to clean it anyway. I'm going to remove this oil line too, but I can't really do it until I remove the primary cover. Alright, now easy access to the strap at the top here. So here's one of the shims. These should be like 0.005 thickness. Supposedly from the factory they came with no shim, so this has definitely been taken apart at least once. Alright, here's the mag dyno. So now I have the opportunity to clean this thing up. I'm going to replace the spark plug wire. I'm going to clean up the points area a little bit, take out some of this rust. Looks like I'm missing a screw, which I don't know if I'm going to worry about right now. I can set the point scab a lot easier this way. This is where the shims go if you need them. Apparently these come out. Yes, they do. It looks like they're ovalized just a little bit. Just probably worn out. The main reason we have this apart is to get this shaft taper lapped better with the gear. Because I think over the years of kickbacks, and it's kind of roughed out the taper a little bit, and it's not making a good connection. So I'm going to lap that out and get this thing recommissioned a little bit. It works great, no reason to take it further than that. Well, I'm listening to the armature move in there. It's pretty stiff and it's pretty noisy. I really don't like the way that sounds or feels. I'm a little concerned that the bearings might be kind of shot in there. I mean, it shouldn't be this hard to turn. I can barely turn it. You should be able to easily move it from the armature. So that has me a little concerned as well. I might have to pull this apart and replace the bearings. Okay, before I dig into this thing, I think this is kind of a good place to stop this video because it's just getting longer and longer and longer. So next time, I think I'm going to pull this thing apart and see if I can't grease up these bearings because they sound a little dry. So hopefully that's all I need to do. If I need to replace them, I'm going to have to order some more parts. The key with magnetos is you want to make sure they go back together quick or they're going to lose their magnetism. So I'm going to stop and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Can't